Turn your ringing system to the lowest it can be. I'm going to call upon Mayor Pro Temp to lead us in the prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Seth Lumpkins.
For all of you that are so inclined to pray, and if my voice fades, let's hope that God hears it. All wise and kind Father, first and foremost, we say thank you. Thank you for allowing all of us to get up today to a brand new, beautiful day, for the blessings that you bestowed upon us this day. Now, God, we ask you to come into this meeting, come into each and every one of us as a collective board, a collective city, so that the things that we discuss and decide would benefit everyone who resides here in the city of Oxford. We ask you to bless each and every one. And when they depart from this place, we ask you to give them traveling mercies so that they return home and find all their loved ones well. These and all our prayers we pray. In your Son, Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll consider adjustment to an approval of tonight's agenda. We have one item to add. We have a presentation for the Veterans Mural by Elita. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Added to the agenda. To provide the highest standards of behavior and transparent governance, the Board of Commissioners have approved a code of ethics to establish guidelines for ethical standards for board members and to provide guidance in determining appropriate conduct. Among those, board members shall avoid impropriety in the exercise of their official duties and should conduct the affairs of the board in an open and public manner. If any board member knows of a conflict of interest or appearance of a conflict, please state so at this time. Let the record note no conflicts of interest. We gonna move forward. We had on here a delegation from the Meadows, but no one is here. So we don't have a proclamation by Mr. Carlos, Commissioner Velez on Hispanic Heritage Month.
City of Oxford, NC, National Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th to October 15th, 2024. Whereas the Hispanic and Latino community represent a large and vital part of the city of Oxford, the state of North Carolina, and the United States of America. Whereas during National Hispanic Heritage Month, we honor the diverse history of generations of Latinos whose achievements have helped shape our nations. And whereas we celebrate the histories, cultures, and contributions of those living in America whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, Central, and South America. And whereas this year's National Hispanic Heritage Month theme is Together, and whereas a vital part of shaping the future is the growing Hispanic enrollment in higher education, which is expected to exceed 4.0 million students by 2026, far surpassed the growth rate of any other racial or ethnic group by over 10%. And whereas Hispanics make up about 19% of the U.S. workforce, up from 16.3% in 2014, with the Bureau of Labor Statistics projecting that Hispanics will make up to 21.2% of the labor force by 2030. And whereas with the Hispanic or Latino population growing, breaking down barriers to workforce success is key to the overall growth of the U.S. economy. And whereas we recognize all Hispanic leaders and business owners in our community for the continued efforts and contributions. And whereas the city of Oxford is proud to have two elected Hispanic officials serving on the Board of Commissioners. And now, therefore, I, Guillermo Nurse, Mayor of the City of Oxford, NC, along with the Oxford Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of September 15th to October 15th, 2024, a National Hispanic Heritage Month in the City of Oxford. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Oxford, NC, to be affixed this 10th day of September 2024. Signed, Guillermo Nurse, Mayor of Oxford.
We'll have a presentation at this time for the Veterans Mural.
He's switching up because hers is shorter.
Good evening, everyone. Thank
Good
you
evening.
so much for this time. My name is Aletha Williams, and I am the project manager for the Oxford Veteran Mural Project. It is the first mural project for veterans, and so we are honored to actually be the model for North Carolina Art Council, and they are actually going to be watching us, whether it be by the financial tracking of the funds that they're going to give us. They're going to give us $10,000 to do this project. And so I came back in May to do this project, to request the city's permission to partner with the city and other partners in the community. And it was granted by the board. And so thank you. The North Carolina State Art Council gave us the grant, and I'm just happy. We hit the deck plates running, and we've created an image, and I would like to present that with your permission. So some of the key points that I want to highlight, if you take a look at this, the partners, the city, the Downtown Economic Committee, as well as the museum, the Granville County Museum, and a diverse group of artists are participating in creating the story of this mural, which I will be showing at the end of this presentation. The intention of the grant is to provide community engagement and incorporate elements that would allow the community to come together and show how they support our veterans in Oxford. Now, I want to emphasize Oxford, even though Granville County consists of more than just Oxford, this mural fund was given to Oxford. And so the mural theme is based on Oxford. The art of storytelling, as a PhD candidate, I've studied the art of storytelling. And storytelling gives us the lived experience of the individual. And so this mural is telling a story of the experience of many veterans that I've come across my 20 years as a naval veteran myself, and coming across, since I've been retired for 10 years, other veterans who have told their stories and shared their stories. So I'm hoping that this mural is representing that collective experience that I've come from with my interaction with the veterans in the community. I did talk to some veterans in Oxford, and so their inputs are injected into the mural. Nature and healing, that's one of the requirements. So how can we integrate the natural elements like trees and flowers and landscape into the symbology of the mural? Again, you will see that at the end. And the completion is, we have a very, very fast and promising end of November 11th of this year. The mural grant is ends next September. but we're trying to finish this in 2 months. And it is an achievable goal. And so we're hoping to reveal this on November 11th with the cooperation and collaboration of the city. This is just a project timeline. Again, we received the grant in August. We started back in May. We received it in August, and I completed the budget with the North Carolina councils and all the document requirement with the help of Cindy here. Thank you so much, ma'am. And we were able to get all the documents in so that the funding could come to us. Awaiting the funding to start ordering the materials for this project. The primary artist and I, so I started out with just myself and the primary artist, and the other artists will just come in and do the painting. But the primary artist is Sarah Claiborne. I don't see her here, but she was going to show, but that's okay. She and I came up with this image, and then we went to our partners and seeking opinion and feedback for it. We'll want to start painting at the end of this month. We said 15th of September, but we're going to push it to the end of the month because we're still waiting for the funding. Next slide, please. Next slide. You don't want to see all that. That's project management things. So again, the grant approval started back in March and ended with the approval in August. The contracts for the funding started in August, and we're waiting approval. Create drafting and the painting, coordinate with partners, again, August, and we just finished the final draft with one more injection of feedback. We want to start painting the mural at the end of September and finish in November. We want to include the schools, and so this is a part of the partnership. And why are we including the schools? Because the bottom part of the brick are handprints. And we want to include the art school and the students to come and make those handprints. And what we're going to do is also create a list of words that I've received from doing online requests for one word that describe how you support your community veterans. And so we'll take that list, and people will just take one word during the reveal ceremony the week prior and come and start writing those words in the handprint. And so we're going to involve the schools just to show, so that they can have that built-in knowledge and awareness that there are veterans in the community that they want to show their support by participating in this event. If you take a look at the mural, I don't know if you can see the distinction, but you can probably create your own story. And that's what we want you to do. What is your impression of this mural? But I will give you a version that is very emotional and very pivotal. You look at a dad saying goodbye to his baby, and the baby didn't care to be in clothes, so the clothes is also the emphasis because the baby was crying, they took the clothes off, and the dad is holding him saying goodbye. Look at the color of the mural starting left to right. It's going from dark to clear, and there's a point in that because the heaviness of sadness shows how hard it is for this dad to leave. And as they start marching into what would be a deployed war zone, or if not war, just a deployed area, they are walking and it's still heavy. They're like, oh, I'm leaving my family. They're still thinking about family, and then they're trying to think about work. But if you take a look where the ship is and the helicopters are, it's lighter. The veteran now is in the zone, and they have purpose. And one of the experience in my own personal life is when I am deployed and in that target zone, I have purpose. This is my job, and this is what I'm going to do. And so that lifts my spirit and kind of makes me forget about the depression of leaving my child. And so then they come back to the community, and they're going to give back to the community by planting a tree or joining together and doing something with the community. And the witness is a dad and his son also showing the child how to support the community. One little feedback that's going to help is we're going to include the Air Force. We forgot the Air Force and put a little jet in there flying through the tree. So if you guys don't have any questions, this will be the mural. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That goes back to from Mary Potter and the orphanages, but also connecting to the future with your connection to the Webb family and the James Webb Telescope. You know, so you all have a lot of stories to tell here. And one of the things that we like to say as a city planning firm that does community branding is if you can tell your story in a graphic, you either don't have much of a story to tell or you've got way too much going on in that graphic that, you know, it's going to be more distracting for people. So we really tried to distill it down. And if you notice kind of the shape we're alluding to here in this first slide of these diamonds, some of you might recognize them as being inspired a bit by the Granville flag that, you know, was the first state flag approved in the state. But it was pulled out of the coat of arms from the Earl of Granville, who, you know, the county is named after. And a lot of our research and our engagement in the community, we noticed that the courthouse had been used in years prior in many different ways to represent the community and represent the city and downtown. But it's a county courthouse, and sometimes in a community that works. It's an iconic structure, people recognize it, they can see it from far away as they're entering the community, but it's not always what represents the energy of the community and the vibrancy of the community. But we like that inspiration, and if you look at this and you start seeing a little bit of that negative space between there, you start to see a bit of a letter forming between those diamonds as well. So on the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about the typefaces. We wanted to provide some typefaces that are fairly contemporary, but depending on how they're utilized and the context in which they're utilized, they can feel like they've been here a long time. So we didn't want to do anything too modern, too ornate. You all have an ornate brand you're using currently, and a lot of our feedback in our engagement really led us down a path of something that's a little bit more formal, a bit more legible, and has a broader application. And so we put all this kind of into the design blender, and I'd like to say, any more people think they can just push a button and create a design, but now with AI, unfortunately you can, but there's a lot of thought and process that went into this, and even customizing the typeface so that we created a more geometric X in this typeface. We aligned the F and the R crossbars, so we get that clean, consistent line kind of through there, and you'll see that as we move forward in just a moment, how that impacts the overall design of everything, but even customizing that F so it nestles well with the O there, kind of brings everything together, gives you a custom, unique word type. So even for monogramming, livery, promotion, whatever that application may be. But then we put all those pieces together and we land on the Oxford, North Carolina brand, where we can see that X really kind of that focal point. It is a unique element for the community, but bringing those four colors together, working with a lot of Main Street communities all over the country over the past 22 years that Arnett Muldrow has been doing this, Main Street and the organizations are really important. That 4-point approach, it really worked well here in conjunction with the city brand as well, because we're working with the downtown for a destination brand for downtown as well, and with the DOEDC in rebranding them and updating their identity to Ox Forward as well. And so keeping that Ox in there, really playing into that. But you can see a number of different configurations here. And so even in the simplicity of this design, we wanted something that is flexible and can be adaptable to a lot of different applications. So what you're seeing here isn't options of yay or nay or this one or that one. This is really a toolkit that we're creating to provide you all with flexibility moving forward. So as your implementation needs change, you've got the tools in your toolkit to really address those, and you can be flexible but consistent, because that consistency is very important, so that people feel like you all are showing that care and that diligence of that meticulousness of like that community pride in how you present yourself. It's almost like going out. You wouldn't go out with a mixed match socks or a shirt and pants that didn't match. Branding is very similar to me in that way. Even though I'm not fashionable, but you go out, you want to make sure things are consistent. So we want a broad palette for you to utilize. So then we have a couple of examples here of what this could look like in some of your environmental graphics. Oh, here's another. Here it is in single color as well, which is also very important to make sure that sometimes we don't want to print 4 or 5 colors on everything. If we're doing something simple, embroidery, or we want to get some swag for a festival or an event, we just want to put it in white or the blue on a background, then we want to make sure that the brand is flexible enough to where that's legible and iconic in any single color as well. So then here are some examples of environmental graphics, and you have a couple of water towers around town that you already have your name on, but what could those look like with a new coat of paint? And I know that's easier said than done when you're talking about a water tower, but wanted to show some examples of how that could look, keeping the base color on these, either the light blue that's already there, that kind of works right into the brand system, even when it's updated, keeping that light blue in the color palette, or on the white one you can see from downtown there on the right, putting the more colorful icon on there so it really kind of pops off, and you can see it from a distance, create that sense of arrival, kind of communicate that community pride. And then here's another example of just a different variation of the icon in there with with that X in the negative space of the word type. And then some examples too of how we can update some of the street signs in downtown. And Tina had asked for a number of options of this so that they could consider kind of what they would look like in different colors, keeping the legibility, street signs and the names are very important. We do a lot of wayfinding systems across the country as well, and understand there's a lot of regulations we want to abide by as far as keeping the room there for the street, but we've got a little room to play around with how do we update these signs to incorporate that community identity into there, and again, reinforce that sense of place, that community pride. A little pop of color draws people's attention to it. And you all have a number of these already that have the North Carolina Hot Sauce Festival logo on there, which as a designer, I'm really mad at that logo because I didn't come up with it. And I don't, it's just one of those, it's perfect when you just put a stem on North Carolina and turn it into a pepper, it's genius. But these are just some of the other options of, how we can incorporate different approaches to the identity, but maintaining that consistency. So you can see the flexibility, and we've provided a lot of other variations of this to our steering committees, because we have a steering committee for the city and we had one for the DOEDC, and we've kind of joined forces together and we've created a whole system that works for both of the organizations and the entities, that communicates really well with one another, but creates enough independence between the various organizations as well. And so here are a couple of examples of what the updated gateways could look like. And this is an interesting study here because this isn't a new structure. You're not having to invest in new foundation, new lighting, any of that. You have the existing structure there. So how do we put a fresh coat of paint on that and maybe pump up the wattage of the light in front of it, but just bring that identity out there, let people know they've arrived in a community that cares about itself and is putting that fresh coat of paint on things. I like to think about it, when we bought our house, it's an old house in 2015, the first thing my wife had me do was paint the front door. And so sometimes to me it's like just showing that fresh coat of paint, that that fresh haircut, but I don't know anything about those either, but just putting that fresh face forward can really let people know that this community really cares in some easy ways, without massive capital investments. And here's again another example of a different variation of how that brand can be applied. And so we, as I mentioned, I think, is that the last slide? Oh, and then yes, even the sign for City Hall. So we've done a lot of other work, as I mentioned, not just with downtown, but we've provided examples to the steering committees of a lot of other collateral, from t-shirts and livery to swag and different things, to let them see how broad it can be applied. But we wanted to kind of keep it condensed here for you all tonight, but I'd love to hear your feedback and answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner
Well,
Bridges.
okay. Well, I like the brighter color personally. Okay, as I look at this, I think it's wonderful, the design and everything. It seems to me that someone told me that we may not even have to repaint all the water towers, but there can be an overlay of this particular design
Absolutely.
on the water towers, right?
Absolutely. Well, there's a lot of different, they're even painting water towers with drones now. There is a technology called Illuma Graphics, I think, or Illuma Light. I'm getting it's a brand name, but it is a printed aluminum. It's like a thin sheet of aluminum they print on, and they can print large format, and they'll use it on streets. They'll use it for murals on buildings, and it's applied with heat. And so instead of having somebody out there with paint and doing all that, you print it out, you take it up there, and you mount it. And so there's a lot of different technologies you can do now that isn't just scaffolding and paint sprayers that can lead to overspray and things of that nature. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can approach that.
And would something like that be cheaper?
That, I don't know. I'm assuming it would be, but I'm an art director, and so I've never paid for it myself. I'd have to Google that myself. Honestly, I don't know. I would assume, especially something along the Illuma graphic, that Illuma Light, or that Illuma graphic technology, I think that would definitely be cheaper than having a whole crew come out and having to do that. Because I've heard water towers aren't cheap.
Commissioner Toby.
Well, I gotta say, I like the diamond thing, so I mean, you can tell
Oh.
by my tie.
Very nice.
I like the colors on it. I prefer the darker background on that sign because it stands out there. But I think it's, would never have thought of that, but I do like the diamonds. I really do.
Very nice. Thank you.
Commissioner Lumpkins.
I just wanted to thank you, Sean, for coming out and giving a presentation. I feel bad because I feel like we went through so many and it made you work a lot. So I think it's been a long process, and y'all have been great to work with.
Thank you.
And I think what we've come up with or have finally reached it looks really good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that. And I will say that it was a long process and it was a lot of engagement. It was a lot of back and forth, a lot of meetings and iterations. But what I can say as a designer is I'm incredibly proud of where we've ended up. And I think every time we had a conversation, every time we engaged, we were always moving it forward. So thank you all for all of your diligent time and effort and input, because I think where we ended up is where we needed to be, and so I'm really proud of it.
Commissioner Ellis.
Sean, thank you so much for everything that you've done. I know you put a lot of time and effort in it. My full-time profession is Department of Transportation, and I worked in the sign department for many years. And when Brent was showing me some of this stuff in his office, and he showed me the street signs, the light bulbs, just, lit up. And it was an idea that I was telling the city manager that I thought would just be awesome addition to the whole street signs. If we can go back to the street signs. That's no, the other one. Yeah. And so and this is just the sign department DOT thing kind of. And I was telling Brent that I just thought it would be a great idea when we start printing out signs for the city. Like we add something to it depending on the area. Like downtown, for instance, put a chili pepper right here. And then the historic district maybe like the ox that represents Oxford, and even our industrial complex. The industrial complex of Oxford has always been tobacco, and have a tobacco leaf for the industrial areas. And so I just think it would add a lot of what's the word I'm looking for?
Character.
Character.
It'll add character.
Well, and that's a great observation, because character is exactly how we would describe character districts. And you can do that. You've already got a historic district that has a sign in front of it as you go down. Is it College past the church around the roundabout where the sign is? Or I might get my crossroads mixed up. I'm sorry. But you can absolutely play around with that. That's a lot of fun. Whenever we do wayfinding systems and we look at character districts, we will look at different ways we can let people know where they are in a community and give them that sense of place, and keep them oriented.
And I guess the word that I was looking for is identity.
Mm-hmm.
It'll add a sense of identity of what Oxford is when people see these signs. And when they're in a specific part of Oxford,
Absolutely.
it'll just add more identity to who Oxford is.
Absolutely do that.
I think one of the things you worked on while Tina was here, one of the meetings that Parks and Rec is going to be made that Park and Rec can have their type of.
So
logo,
that's
and
yes.
It's going to be able to interchange it.
Yes.
That's basically what Commissioner Bellis is.
Yeah, that's a great observation, because whenever we work with a community, oftentimes there are departments that have a lot more of a community-facing identity. When you talk about public works, parks and rec, we think about police and fire definitely have their own identities in a community. but often, planning, finance, not so much in a lot of communities. Some communities, they do have a bit more of a public-facing identity. So we will work with some of those departments, and we did create a variation of this that had a tree in the diamond, but that tree could also be swapped out for some of the other activities. If they're promoting summer camps or a baseball camp, we can swap out the iconography that is in that diamond, and it's got the Parks and Rec typeface there that is very, it's nearly identical to the Oxford typeface. Again, using that toolbox that we're providing with the typefaces and the color palettes, we can create a lot of variation by deciding which one of those we're going to combine to create different identities. And so we can, again, maintain that consistency, but everything doesn't have to be the same. We're not just, the seal is a very important aspect of a community because it is very formal that you put on everything that you're proclaiming. You put it on your water bill, you put it on your tax bill, you put it on your, your proclamations. But for marketing and community identity, we just want to kind of that seal of approval of like, hey, this is us and this is our mark, and that more consistency. We want them seeing these colors, thinking Oxford, seeing this typeface, thinking Oxford. And the more we do that, we don't have to tell people every time. They'll start to sort of internalize that, and it will become your identity as a community.
Is there any other question for Sean?
I just wanted to wrap up with one thing real quick. Just to let you know, the next steps are we're going to take all of these and we're going to create a style guide that's going to lay out the typefaces, the color palette, all of the logo variations into all of the color variations that you saw, and in 5 different file formats that will be put at output, so that the departments will have access to all of those. So whenever they start looking at new livery, new letterheads, business cards, all of that, they're going to have one resource to go to, and we'll have contact sheets and a whole style guide so they can just thumb through that, see exactly what they want to pick out. So it'll make it easier for implementation moving forward as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you.
At this time, we consider approving the new community grant presented by Arlington Hotel. Back in August 2024, the steering committee, along with the consulting firm, completed the brand elements for the community brand, which include the logo, tagline, and color palette. The development process has included community input, stakeholders engagement, and research insight. The brand aims to enhance community image, promote local pride, and attract residents, visitors, and businesses. The staff recommends approval to the community brand for implementation throughout the city.
Motion.
A motion?
Second.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a question.
Yes, sir.
So if we approve so we're approving all of the designs and we're going to use all of them in different places, or are we supposed to pick one particular? Because I said I like the lighter color, and Commissioner Toby said he likes the darker background, and that's fine. But I was just wondering, are we going to interchange them and use all of them?
As far as what I, go ahead. Seth,
I don't have the voice.
So the idea is it's a guide, right? So we have a color palette, we have a font, we have other logos that look similar, and we use them where appropriate. So it's not, we don't pick one. They're all part of the scheme. And I believe so. There's going to be some discretion there, but the guide will be designed where it'll all look similar, and when you see it, you'll know what it is. And I don't know if we've had this discussion yet, but I think some of the more formal city logos, maybe like professional letterhead, will remain with the seal, with the city seal. But again, it's discretionary. I'll let Brent, did you have anything?
I think you covered it. So it's primarily we're just voting on the concept, if you will.
Okay, good. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we move into section, public comment section. And our first person on the line is Mr. Larry Thomas, 207 East Front Street, Oxford. I got you covered.
At last month's meeting, delegations got 2 hours of time before y'all. Tonight, I'm getting 3 minutes. 2 hours before any city business was conducted. The other thing is, what impact does the newly adopted CIP have on the budget? Can you tell me what was deleted or added? Or is the CIP still up in flux? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Next up, Mr. Eddie Reed, 230 Lanier Street, Oxford. I gotta remember to say Eddie.
Jack. Greetings, Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager, and the rest of the commissioners. Thank y'all for having me again, but I'm just up there with a question. I want to find out if y'all come up with a resolution for this speed bumps or the stop signs or whatever that we was, for the near street and the surrounding streets in the community. That we was up here at the last meeting, we brought a petition up here for it.
The staff has been looking into solutions for that. I would anticipate within the next month or so, we'll be bringing some recommendations to the commission.
Okay, and one more thing, we saw the police put a monitoring machine there, but it's not working, it's not even on. It's one there to monitor traffic, and my neighbor, she told me about it, I said, no, she knows I rode by it, don't even come on.
Okay.
And thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Next, we have Mrs. Gloria Jones, 7014 Matt Curran Road.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm coming tonight to bring public awareness. It's probably not for your action, but I want the public to be aware that on August the 30th, I received an email stating that I had been targeted to be purged from the voter roll. And I thought it was a scam. So it was during the holiday week. So on Tuesday, the day after the holiday, I took the email to the director of the Board of Election, Ms. Tanya Burnett, and she couldn't believe it when she read it. And the email came from the League of Women Voters president, because I am the co-president for the League of Women Voters here in Oxford, in Granville County. And she is the president of North Carolina, League of Women Voters. And they had received this list with my name, along with 225,000 other names on the same list to be purged from the voter roll. So they married the list that they had with the League of Voters database, and that's how my name popped up, because I'm a League of Women voter. But the other 225,000, I don't know how they contact them. But I was told that the reason my name popped up, and I know other people in Granville County whose name is on this list, is because I did not have my driver's license number on my voter registration, or the last 4 of my social security number. I was contacted by the Coalition for Social Justice, and her name is Hillary Klein. And I told Ms. Klein, I have been voting in North Carolina for the last 10 years, and I've never had a problem. And there has never been a requirement for you to put your license number in a voter registration. Until December of 2023, it was optional. You did not have to do it. So now I am being contacted, I got contacted today because someone has filed a lawsuit against the Republican Party. And CBS News want to talk to me and the other voters' names that were on the list because there is a lawsuit pending. So I just wanted to, when I talked to Ms. Burnett, I did correct my voter registration form. She told me to put my license on there, put my social security. I was kind of not wanting to do it, but I don't want anything to stop me from voting, so I did it. But I just wanted to let the public be aware that this is happening. So even though I checked vote411.org, I am a registered voter, and I would not have known that this was a requirement when I went to vote, when I go to vote, unless, you know, it was brought to my attention. So just wanted the public.
Thank you.
Be on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much. It's very
much.
important information. When elections coming up, everyone should go ahead and verify your status at the Board of Election or go online and see if you can
I've got to make
verify.
a comment about that as well, because I've been receiving a lot of mail from different parties with a middle name, my middle name. I don't have a middle name. So I'll say, where the hell are they getting a middle name from?
Well,
So I'm gonna have to go down to Board of Elections tomorrow and make sure that I'm still on there as well, because that's wrong.
just for general, as we see in the news, we have other foreign countries interfering with their elections, and we don't know if those are the guys that are doing it. So I will urge the public to go out and check your
Go down.
the Board of Election.
Yes. Go to the Board of Election, check for yourself.
Yes.
And please do not share no information via text, email, or anything of that
Or
matter.
phone call.
Or phone call.
Go
Do
to the
it in
Board of
person.
Election and check for yourself. Next.
Yes, sir.
Before we move to the
Commissioner
next,
Bridges. Yes, sir.
I believe I heard you say 25,000
225.
and 50,
225.
225,000.
225,000.
Good God.
Okay,
And I have that from.
right. And I'm glad that you took steps to straighten that out. But I was wondering, are there efforts to get to the other 225,000 folks who may have received the same thing?
Well, I think they are trying to notify these folks, but they don't know where everybody, because
There's a
you know,
lot of people.
this was the legal women voters that did it for me.
Yeah.
Thank God I don't remember. So, but the other 225,000, I really can't answer that.
Okay, thank you.
But the Board of Elections is aware of it.
That's good.
Thank you very
Gloria,
much.
I was going to say, Gloria, thank you for having the courage, the foresight, and the initiative to come up and make it public knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That concludes our public comment section. Public hearings of city business. Citizens may only speak on public hearing items at this time. Citizens do not need to sign up to speak at a public hearing. When recognized by myself, come forward to the podium and state your name, address, and if you're a city resident, please review the citizen comment guidelines that the city clerk provides. At this time, we're declaring public hearing open. Would anyone like to speak? First, let me address what the public hearing is first. I'm sorry. There's a public hearing for rezoning 3 lots, 601, 603, and 605 in Hicksville Road. Consider approving the rezoning of the 3 lots on Hicksville Road, lots 601, 603, and 605. The current zoning of the property is NB, neighborhood business. The owners would like to rezone in order consistent to the character of the neighborhood and with recent development. Approval. The comp plan shows the property as mixed use, which includes single and multi-family residential. The planning board is recommending approval. But we have public hearing. Now, is anyone on this section would like to speak on this issue? Anyone in the middle room would like to speak on this issue? Yes, sir. Come forward.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Pro Tem Mayor and City Council, I am Ralph Jones. I am representing the families of 601, 603, and 605 East Road. And the problem was detected when we decided to build another family home on our property.
Get to the mic, yeah, babe.
When we decided to build another family home on our property. Approval. And we need your support in approving this so that we can go forward and so that we can keep the family together. Thank you for your time and your concern.
Sir. Is there a motion?
Motion. This public, we still in public hearing.
Public hearing is closed at this time. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item. Consider awarding the fiscal year 2023-2024 audit contract to S. Preston Douglas and Associates to audit the city financial statement from July 1st, 2023 to June 30, 2024 in the amount not to exceed $35,500. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Second item, consider funding request for the wastewater treatment plant from DWI Division of Water Infrastructure. Okay. Consider adopting a resolution that accepts a grant in the amount of $150,000 from the State Wastewater Reserve Program for the 2022 Water and Sewer Asset Inventory Assessment. The Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, sent the City of Oxford a letter of intent to fund the 2022 Water and Sewer Asset Inventory and Assessment Project. The board will accept the grant by resolution and adopt a capital project ordinance for the project to proceed. The city will be responsible for 1.5% grant fee estimated at $2,250 each and matching funds of $15,000 each. These fees will be due at closing. Staff recommends adopting the resolution and capital project report ordinance for water and sewer asset inventory and assessment study in the amount of $150,000. Consider the funding. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4.6. 4.5. You skipped it. Okay. This one on this one. Okay. Consider funding request. No, we did that. 4.5. Consider adopting revised 2024 capital improvement. Okay. Program, yeah, let's go. Consider funding request for a wastewater treatment plant from the Division of Water Infrastructure. I don't have details on it.
Staff recommends.
Staff recommends approval. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4.6, adopting the revised 2024 capital improvement plan. Since the adoption of the last capital improvement plan, the city and our consultants have made a number of discoveries that have moved the project up or down the original priority list, which include but are not limited to most significantly the wastewater treatment plant expansion project 2024. Staff recommends adopting the revised 2024 capital improvement plan. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. Consider accepting the June 2024 financial report and July 1st and July 9th minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion.
A second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Before we adjourn to second, we're going to do that. We're at the end of that. Mr. Bellis, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, I would. I would like for us to give our staff a round of applause for the excellent work that they did with this hot sauce festival. It being the first time that we done 2 days. I think that it was amazing work. I love the creativity that y'all added to it this year. I love the diversity in the music. And I think I speak for a lot of the kids when I say they loved the rides. Just the simple fact that you guys was able to provide these little activities for the kids, and it was affordable. And I mean, the kids just loved it. You know, for many years, we've walked around the Hot Sauce Festival, enjoyed the adult amenities and the music, and the kids was just walking along with us. But this year, they actually had their area, you know, where they was able to feel like they were part of this festival. And I applaud all of y'all for the great work. The fire department came out, provided EMS services, and you know, made sure everybody was great and well hydrated. I mean, just looking around, the police department came out and did the security. We also had the sheriff department that helped out, and I was happy to see other police forces from around the county that came and just gave a hand. It was. I mean, I was just amazed. Also, the economic to it. You know, Friday night, how everybody after the festival shut down, everybody went to the businesses, and the business. I'm pretty sure the businesses are very appreciative of the creativity of the city. So keep up the great work.
Commissioner Lumpkins.
Yeah, I'll second that. You know, I think the 2 nights or the 2 days was a great idea. Friday was. Yeah, I thought Friday was great. It was really nice to be out there as the sun was going down, listen to the music. Kids loved it. There was a lot out there for the kids this year, which was great. But so thank you to everybody. You know, the setup was amazing. Felt safe there. You know, everybody. I looked around and I think everybody had a great time. So it was really good. And, yeah, like I said, felt safe. Everything was clean. So Steve and all them, they did a great job. And, so I'm really appreciative of everything.
Mr. McCray?
Of course, not to continue to beat the dead horse, but again, city employees, outstanding, phenomenal job on the Hot Sauce Festival. I agree. I think everyone had a good time. I had some friends to come from from out of town, came from Charlotte, and they're still telling me how much of a good time they had. So again, thank you so much for your attention to detail and for all the efforts that you guys put forth to make it the Hot Sauce Festival as successful as it was. I will end on again. Thank you. I think it's Miss Gloria. Thank you, ma'am, so much for that information again. But I would encourage each and every one of you that are here, those that are listening online as well. Your votes are very important. They're extremely important. If they weren't, there wouldn't be such a battle to take them from you. Make sure that whatever you have to do going to the Board of Elections. I'm like one. I like to do stuff in person. Just sacrifice just a little bit of your time. Just go verify your registration and everything because again, it is very vital. It is very important. And as we know, this election coming up is definitely probably one of the most important ones that we're going to have in our lifetime. So, regardless of which way you vote, that you're voting it's a right. It's a right that each one of us have. So take advantage of that, and let your voice be heard. Now's the time to definitely make sure that it can be heard as loud as possible. So go out and vote, and just make sure take advantage of the rights that you have. And thank everyone for coming out again tonight.
Mayor?
Mayor, just have a couple of things. One, just to give you an update on paving of Hillsborough Street. We anticipate that to start milling on the 23rd. Probably take most of that week, and then the following week we anticipate starting paving on that. So that'd be the week of the 30th. The roundabout, which is a NCDOT project, but we anticipate that about another week, maybe 2. Part of that's lining up their crews, getting material and things like that. But so you should, in the next couple of weeks, start to see several things start to come together and make it a lot easier to drive through the city. I will take a second to beat a dead horse. I would like to also express my appreciation to the staff. And the one thing that you don't really get to see is how well they come together and not operating silos, but really exchanging ideas and how they can each work together. I mean, just some examples. Like for example, planning, allocating staff to work the festival. The finance department, not only do they have people working in the festival, but also came up with better ways to track the revenues that came in, especially the day of. The engineering department, in addition to supplying staff, also had a booth themselves for kids and learning about stormwater and providing an educational moment. The chiefs, fire chief and the fire department, I think responded to at least a dozen calls but also was heavily involved in planning for the entire event. In that, if this incident happens, this is how we react to it. A lot of preparation went into that. Fortunately, with our police department, they not only did a great job of managing traffic, but also what's probably not noticed is where they're looking for potential problems and places that you wouldn't think. And going through that extra effort to make sure we have a safe festival. And most people probably didn't notice it, but I can assure you that they were combing every nook and cranny. You talked about the rides and things like that. Parks and Rec Department took that on, and when you get a bunch of kids down there, it can be you get a headache doing that. But you're right, kids have had a great time down there. It was full pretty much the entire time I saw it. Also, of course, we'd be remiss without recognizing Giovanni Ford, probably the #1 volunteer for this festival, and he came in and spent a tremendous amount of hours. I don't know, but not only the hours of working, but the enthusiasm which he embraced it as well. And of course, Sabrina, not only with the communications, but took on an extra role in assisting with that. And then finally with Brianna and Elliot, this was their first festival. Not only was it their first festival, it was the first festival where we added 4 hours to the original day and an extra day. So nothing like throwing feet in the fire to begin with. So I think they all did a tremendous job, and I wanted to express my gratitude for that, and just a little insight on that, how they all pulled together. Oh, no, almost forgot Steve, Public Works. Of course, they're finishing up at midnight, so he'd probably kill me if I didn't remember. But it was a whole crew that worked together as a team, and that's certainly something to be proud of. So, thank you.
Well, the problem is when you're at the end of the line, everything has been said, hasn't it? I just want to reiterate everything that has been said. And I did see Giovanni walking around with his bride and looking after her. So thank you for that. But a thank you for every single volunteer. We never seem to thank the volunteers enough sometimes. Every single volunteer that gave their time for this festival. I want to thank everybody so much for a successful hot sauce contest weekend. And thank you all for coming tonight as well.
So I'm gonna say ditto. All right. But one of the things that I'm glad to see more movement in terms of our streets.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody walked up to me and said, "That roundabout almost is a perfect circle, and I will be glad when it gets done." And then another person walked up to me and said they love the idea of the waterfall and the water at the other roundabout. So, and my granddaughter also put her stamp of approval on the waterfall thing. She loves it. And so I think that's a great look. I'll have to say, though, the first time I saw it, and I was thinking about our water issues. No. I wondered, do we got enough water to do that? No. But it really does look good, and I'm glad to see some improvement. We're getting some of our streets finished up, and hopefully, that'll continue to move along, and we'll get finished with a lot of that stuff. That's all.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Ditto to the hot sauce contest. Because everybody's taking all the acclimates. They got all the good stuff, so I'm coming up with some problems. Last month, I had some citizens to call me, and they were terrified right over here on what's the street? Spring Street. This is why all these police out here, and they got the dogs, and somebody escaped. And I said, well, not to my knowledge. We don't know whether to go outdoors or whatever. So first thing I did was hit speed dial. And I don't know why my speed dial ended up with chief of fire department and not the chief of police. But I asked him, what's going on? Have you heard anything going on downtown? He said, no, excuse me. He said, but let me check and I'll call you back. And they found out that it was Grandma County Sheriff doing some training.
Right.
But they failed to notify the neighbors. And people that called me were all women that lived in apartments by themselves. And they were scared to death. I know we gotta have training. I know there's gotta be training. My thing is notify the citizens prior to your training. With so much going on in our society today, you never know. So they need to know. And if they're training there, they could be training in your neighborhood and you would want to know. So just ask our county to notify our police, the city police, the fire department, city manager, so the word can go out that there's training. Safety for our citizens. Second, citizens sent me some pictures because everybody had been complaining about the construction on College Street. And he sent me some pictures showing what was one of the biggest traffic stops on College Street. They had to remove all the equipment because there was a double wide trailer or mobile home or whatever you want to call it coming through. And I said, well, why they didn't go down the loop? He says, we don't know. But all the workers had to stop, move the equipment so that this could happen. So I'm saying that to say that it's not only that we are working to try to make our city better, but other people are not respecting the detour signs and the cones. So we're not the only ones that's causing traffic problems. Outsiders are doing it also. Then we got another picture. Transfer truck came through we were just talking about it, by the water fountain and ran up on our pretty grass. So we still see people are not following the rules. It's not just our citizens, but it's other people that are not following the rules and the regulations to govern the beauty of our city. Last but not least, we didn't have a retreat this year, and that's generally where I get to take the time to talk to all the department heads. See how you're doing, what's up. So since I didn't get that chance at a retreat, I'm gonna be coming and calling and saying, can you give me 10 minutes? And I just wanna know how they're doing. I don't wanna wait until there is a problem. I want to go and know how the department's doing, how the department head's doing, what we as a board could do. Just get my time that we missed at the retreat this year. So when they say, Miss Pat's going, no, I'm not trying to find out or catch you in anything. I just want to know how you're doing. That's it. That's all for tonight.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm
Mayor?
Oh, now
You call everybody else's names, so I figured I said.
Oh,
Mayor.
I'll turn it over to you. Now, Mayor.
Thank you. I definitely want to reach out to First Sergeant Ford. This young man, we come a long way between our families from Panama. So I'm really proud that we had his service. And he worked daily, like Brent said, daily. We just got to walking today again. He said, let's go clean up the signs that were left. And we came across, we made our business go in just about every business downtown and spoke to them, gave them thank you. And everybody was very happy and pleased about the way things are. Up to the young lady at 1-1 said, can we do this every quarter? So that was good. Another thing we did, I want to say, Sunday morning, when I came out to walk my dog, 5 o'clock in the morning, there was not a sign of trash. There's not a sign that we had a hot sauce festival in town. And that's all because of that man over there and his crew, the Public Works Department. There was no signs. I don't know the signs hanging in the post that we took down today, but good job, Steve. That was outstanding. I'm not going to let the trade get by without saying anything, because the trade does everything we ask them to do in this city. We ask them to help us, whatever we need. He comes down and he works and he helps us a whole lot. Okay? And again, we put this all together because we had two chiefs. They constantly reminded us they had 17 years, but the first sergeant had to put them in place one time. But it was a planning session. But that was the funny part of this thing. But the two chiefs, they're very valuable to the city. Your knowledge in every aspect. You're so good, and I really thank everyone, each and every one here. And the most important thing I was curious about, we had a lot of alcohol in the city. A lot of people drinking in the city. There was no incident.
No incident.
I know when they had the big issue for social district, and that was supposed to be a big issue. There was no incident in the city. So I want to thank everyone in the city, the volunteers, and our vendors. Every company that we have, or small businesses in Oxford, they came out, they pitched in, and they said thank you. So there's no need for me to.
Mayor, if I may, I know we always acknowledge, tonight we went about it, we acknowledged all of our staff and everything. But I want to take this time to acknowledge you, Mayor. I think a lot of people don't understand how much time and effort our mayor puts into this city. I showed up at 8 in the morning, and I thought I was early. And I get to walk in the streets. I run into the mayor. He tell me, "Where you been?" I said, "Man, I'm here. It's early. Man, I've been around since about 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning." But he was one of the first people to show up. And when I was leaving, he was also one of the last people that was leaving as well. I caught him pretty much walking down Main Street heading home, and he was just dragging his feet. You know, I could tell he was tired, so I decided to give him a ride. But I think a lot of people don't realize he comes to City Hall every week, and he spends, a lot of time in City Hall trying to address issues with citizens, et cetera, and even with staff and projects that we got going on. So I definitely want to acknowledge you for all the hard work that you do and all the dedication that you have showed us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Bellis. And again, to close, I know everybody on Sunday was out. I know I didn't get up all day. I got up about 3:30, and I know a couple of people took Monday off, and some folks I called and woke them up. But thank you all. And at this time,
hold on, Carlos. That 6 o'clock is military training. It ain't nothing, he just did. What? Have I got a friend back there agree with me on that? All right then.
Well, I'm gonna hold you to it, Mayor Pro Temp, next time.
That's military training.
At this time, we'd like to adjourn to executive session.
Motion.
Motions.
Close for
Close the executive session.